Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm Tyrone Clay 213 and Mr. Clay on YouTube. We thank God for all you. We thank you for just tuning in. Maybe some kind of way we might say something that you might see yourself. Either you're praised because you're doing these things, or we see ourselves to the point where we need to correct ourselves. Now, we're in Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. We're going to go throughout the book of Job, and we're talking about Job and his family. This is what we're dealing with. Now, let's pray. O most holy, needy, not needy, even the spirit that moved upon the water, according to Genesis 1:1. We thank you for all that you've done. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your favor. We thank you for how you deal with our families, how you deal with our children, even how you deal with us, that we might raise up a holy people, a royal people, a people that really love you and love you more than they love even their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, and kinsmen. Yes, although it might seem strange to some that some would love a God that's in the sky that they cannot see. A God that's in the sky, some says, and they say they cannot hear. But yet, most holy Sanini Nanini, we thank you that your evidence is all around us. Even your doings and your answers that we call for in prayer are always evident. Yes. And we're in Job chapter 1. We're going to start with Job as far as getting a brief background of Job in verse 1. Job chapter 1. Now, there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and sheweth evil. There were born unto him 7 sons, 3 daughters. His substance was also 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all. His quiver was full. This man never had a dull moment in his life, but he feared God to the point where he knew that when you put your love on something so much, it might be taken from you. He knew that God was the creator. He knew God that was the one that caused man to have a breath in his nostrils. Yes. And let's go to verse 5. And it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about that Job sent and sanctified them and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job has said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. And did Job continually. Job continually sacrificed for his sons and daughters. He loved his children. And I'm sure he taught them the way of the Most High, even those laws that he had back then. One thing I have to say about the Bible is collected books, my friend. Collected books. Each book was written by one person. Whether it was a scribe describing the life of a person, or whether it was a person just writing for themselves or recalling what they have experienced of God. Don't let the other factions or other denominations of this deceive you. There was only one. The Bible are collected books. There was one person that wrote Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. There was one person that wrote 1 Kings, 2 Kings. Yes, because the kings had scribes that would copy and write down their genealogies and their doings on a daily basis. Now, and a lot of these things wasn't done every day. This is a span of thousands of years. How are you going to take thousands of years of writing and include them in 10, maybe 20 years or a year or 3 years? Come on here. Are you so foolish that you forget? God is not mocked. Now, let us keep going. Verse 9, and Satan answered the I am and said, or the Satan, a Satan, an evil one, said, doth Job fear God for nothing? Hast thou not made a hedge about him? Yes. He said, and there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating. So God said, okay, go ahead, Satan. You Satan, go do what you got to do. This is what the English says. So his daughters were eating and drinking and wine in their eldest brother's house, and there came a messenger unto Job and said the oxen were plowing and the asses was feeding, and the Sabaeans fell upon him. In other words, all his children was taken away. Some of your children are taken away through walking out of their gender. Some are taken away through gang violence. Some are taken, and you know you've been living right before the Most High. Maybe the Most High has seen you, and he is one that will test. And you think God is a play. No, God is not a play, my friend. God is not a play at all. God can restore your family, or he can take that family away. This is why we must fear God, and we must teach our children to fear the Most High too, because there are vessels unto honor, and there's vessels unto dishonor. And they're all here to test even the candidates that are to be with the Most High forever and ever. Now, let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 2 of Job. Yes, chapter 2. Now, we're going to go down here and we're going to talk about Job's wife. And then said his wife unto him, because Job has been touched by this evil spirit. His wife, does thou still retain the integrity? Curse God and die. But he said unto her, thou sounds like a foolish woman. I mean, you're foolish, lady. What do you mean? You don't even sound like my wife. What shall we receive? Good at the hand of God? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all that this did not Job sin with his lips. In other words, Job saying we receive good and evil from the Most High. For what reason he did not know. But all flesh is as grass. All the nations before the Most High is as nothing. They are less than a drop of the bucket. And if the nations are that, what is one person? Does not God, if you make a robot or a lot of products and one is defective or one just don't, you test it and it doesn't work out, you destroy it or you make it over again. Come on here. Let's talk about this thing. So his wife, more likely she was caught up. She was devastated and tempted by an evil spirit to say these things to Job in order to get him to fall, because we know woman is the weakness of men if he allow a woman to be. Yes, that's why we must love God with all our heart, mind, and soul and strength. It doesn't matter. God can give you another wife just as much as he can give a woman another husband. He can destroy all that stuff, but God is fair. Let's put it that way. Let's go to Job chapter 19. Chapter 19 and verse 14. Yes, Job chapter 19 and 14. We're trying to make this as fast as we can. Now Job, he suffered so much. Well, let's go up to 13. He suffered so much, this is what the words he had. He said, the I am have put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance, and verily estranged from me. In other words, because he was suffering, he was ugly. The man was turning black. I mean, I'm talking about sorely black, like rotten skin upon him. Now my kinsfolk have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. In other words, I can't stand the sight of you. And they that dwell in my house and my maids count me for a stranger. I am an alien in their sight. In other words, they're like, oh gosh. And when they had to tend to him, what they had to do? He said, I called my servant and he gave me no answer. He didn't want to see him. Entreat me with thy mouth. And entreat him with my mouth. My breath is strange to my wife. His wife, she don't know what's going on. All she knows, she's got this husband that used to be robust and strong, but now he's reduced to nothing. Though I entreated for the children's sake of my own body, yea, the young children despised me, and I arose, and they spake against me. All my friends abhorred me, and they whom I loved are turned against me, and my bone cleaved to my skin, to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. In other words, he's saying, hey, it's done. But yet God had a plan. He was being tested. And as we all know, Job passed the test. And he was restored all that, even more so. Don't give up on your family. Don't give up on your friends. Know your children. But man, you are the priest of your home. And with that, I'm going to say, peace.